All right, we're going to get right into it. The last couple videos I've been trying to expose to you guys what's going on in California with the fires, and also let you guys know that this is a plan. Nothing that you're seeing is organic. The fires didn't just start randomly. As a matter of fact, here's a satellite image of the fire starting all at the same time. So in the last video, I outlined some of the problems that they're having with smart meters. But in this video right here, I'm going to let you know that the problems that they are having and the problems that we will be experiencing going forward are all part of a big plan. In this video right here, I'm going to lay it out for you guys. Share the video with your friends, and let's get into it.
This is the Iron Mountain report. This is the beginning of it. 1961, the Kennedy administration ordered a top-down secret study to determine the problems facing the United States if the world moved from a time of war to a golden age of peace. By 63, the specialists had been selected, and 15 experts from various academic disciplines were chosen from different fields. Their first and last meetings were held in an underground nuclear survival retreat called Iron Mountain. The study was concluded in 1966. Lyndon Johnson gave the order that the report was never to be released because of the content. And a whistleblower released it under the name of John Doe, and it was published in 1967. The establishment promptly said it was a hoax. It is no hoax. It's now hard to obtain, but can be found, and we have it on our site. The report looks deep into the soul of the New World Order. Iron Mountain is a covert agenda to bring the world and America under control of the United Nations. The conclusions reached are now being implemented upon the American people without their knowledge or consent. As this documentary will prove beyond all doubt, what you are about to see and hear is real. It is very disturbing, but it is real. It is dangerous beyond belief, but it is real. It is frightening, and yet it is real. No person in America is safe because in spite of all of the denials of the authorities, it is real and these plans are coming to pass. The report will show how the rich men of the earth are operating and why. You will now understand why America is changing into a fascist police state. You will understand why the federal law enforcement is soon being merged with the police. There is no regard for ethics, morality, or human life.
No regards for ethics, morality, or human life. Just so you can kind of wrap your head around what we're dealing with here. Now, this is Deborah Tavares. She is going to tell you right now about the battle she's been in at an Oath Keepers meeting in Southern California.
Now this is Deborah, and she's going to take it from here.
Good evening. Thank you so much for all of you coming here. We drove down an hour north of San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge. And we've been fighting UN Agenda 21 for quite some time now.
Now, just to refresh your memory, in 1992, that's why she says she's been fighting this for a while now, here's Nancy Pelosi coming to the House floor, and she's introducing Agenda 21 under George Herbert Walker Bush without zero consent from Congress or us, the American citizens.
The Earth Summit Environmental Leadership Act, as this is known, presents us with an opportunity to follow up on the important work of the Earth Summit to develop its blueprint, Agenda 21, for global environmental action. HCON Res 353 outlines a comprehensive national strategy for sustainable development in accordance with the principles of Agenda 21 to be coordinated under the leadership of a specific office and at the direction of a high-level government official. The resolution also urges the United States to identify and initiate further agreements to protect the global environment and to support the creation of a high-level United Nations Sustainable Development Commission headed by an Undersecretary General. Third and lastly, the President is urged to report to Congress on the progress made on with this action. HCON Res 353 is supported by the administration. I have been in contact with the appropriate offices of the State Department and have incorporated their suggestions into the resolution. The 71 co-sponsors of this measure include one-half the members of the Foreign Affairs Committee and all of the House delegates to the Earth Summit. It is also supported by the major United States non-governmental organizations concerned with the environmental issues. The Earth Summit presented world leaders with an opportunity that should not be lost. We must now embark on a new course that will sustain our planet and its resources for the benefit of future generations. This resolution calls on the United States to assert its leadership to achieve this goal. I urge my colleagues to support this resolution. Thanks again to the members of the Foreign Affairs Committee for their recognition of the importance and timeliness of this resolution. We must make the promise of Rio a reality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And a simple Google search about Agenda 21 says, no, Congress did not vote on Agenda 21 because it was not a binding treaty, but rather a non-binding statement of intent. Instead, President George H.W. Bush signed the document for the United States at the 1992 Earth Summit.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order.
President Bill Clinton, who we're always supposed to believe that these are all just arch enemies, and they're not. They're all part of the Uniparty. Hello. President Bill Clinton implemented Agenda 21 the following year.
As we move toward the dawn of the 21st century, our country is going through a transition. A new world order, a new set of challenges is confronting us, both domestically and abroad. It will take some time to sort our way through it.
The historic role in trying to make sure that there is, after all, a new world order. And the phenomenal opportunities before us to create a real new world order. George Bush has invoked a new world order without enunciating a new American purpose. And after 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
We all talk about a new world order.
About what the Clinton administration's foreign policy will be, what this so-called new world order will look like.
Agenda 21 is a plan for sustainable development and economic growth that aims to improve diversity, conserve resources, and combat pollution. That really sounds great, doesn't it? Except the part they leave out is that it has to exterminate you. It was created by the United Nations Conference on Environmental and Development.
And I'll give you a little background of us and how we got into the smart meter battle. We're land developers. We were both actually born and raised in Southern California. I grew up in Santa Monica and lived in Malibu. And we raised our family in San Marino, where my husband was a scoutmaster and our son went on to be an Eagle Scout. I have rental property here in Southern California that we built a number of years ago. And about 3 years ago, some tenants contacted us and said they were very, very concerned about these meters. The safe meters that we had installed when we built our properties many years ago, the safe analog meters, conventionally tried and trued and tested through industry for all this time, gives off no frequencies or radiation that will go through your home and pulsate through your body. These were going to be removed and replaced with smart meters. So we came down to Southern California to Edison, and we asked them to see their environmental impact study, because being land developers, we were familiar with environmental impact study requirements. And they said that the project was too small and an impact study was not required. And I asked, well, how many customers are you going to install these on? Well, she said, we're going to deploy these on their entire customer base. And I said, well, how many is in your Edison customer base? And they said 5 million. And I told them, this is not small. I need to speak to your supervisor immediately. We're land developers, and I know you have to have had an environmental impact study. So she came back shortly thereafter. We had pushed her because we said we're headed back up north where we live, and we need to have this study to take up with us for very nervous tenants. And she came back and said, as you can imagine, the smart meter department is humongous. The paperwork is huge. How much capacity do you have on your computer? And I said, well, do a word search. Radiation is safe. The smart meters are safe. Our tenants will not get sick. Anything like that. She said, we'll get it back up to you. Well, I went back up to Northern California where I asked PG&E for their environmental impact study, and they said they didn't have one. I contacted the California Public Utility Commission, and they said they didn't have one. I knew something was very, very wrong. Shortly after that, I was contacted by PG&E inviting me only and excluding my husband to dinner meetings to talk about the smart meters. They said there were only 10 Northern California customers invited to these dinner meetings. And my concern had been what would happen when our tenants started to become sick. And they're deploying these meters on our properties. And who's going to cover this? Who's going to be ultimately responsible? Because what I was realizing that this was UN Agenda 21, and this was a method of property piracy. And what I realized is that through litigation, and massive litigation larger than big tobacco, all property owners of multifamily buildings were going to likely be welcoming lawsuits from attorneys. And this is going to be an enormous battle. I learned that there were several large insurance companies in New York that were already insuring the utility companies for imminent litigation on electromagnetic frequency litigation by customers.
I just want you guys to hear the history of Deborah. She's not some person who's wanting to be all caught up in this stuff. It was merely by accident that she fell into this stuff, and she has an Eagle Scout son, and then she just started to do her due diligence, and the more she started to uncover, the worse that it got.
So I realized that we had a monster getting ready to expose itself, and I asked PG&E at the first meeting that I attended that I needed to speak to the PG&E attorney. I needed to know how PG&E was going to back up property owners that were being forced to have these meters deployed on their buildings, and how they would cover us. And the attorney was evasive, and so I held up a piece of paper and I said, let's just pretend this is a lawsuit I've just received from tenants. How are you going to support us in that? And he said, PG&E would not be responsible or liable in any way, that the CPUC had mandated it. Well, we all know that the Department of Energy only mandated that the utility companies ask us if we wanted a meter or not. That is the only mandate from the Department of Energy. This has been a forced attack and launch upon us in secrecy. So we printed up a couple hundred signs like this one, but it said PG&E. And we went around conservative neighborhoods in Northern California and staked out a couple hundred signs. PG&E did not know what was happening, who was doing this, and what was going on. And they had their smart meter director try to falsify his name and get into our Google group. And it turned out that I received a call from the Chronicle asking me how did I feel being spied upon by PG&E, that I was in their documents, that they were spying on me. And I said, well, it doesn't surprise me at all, because this is a stealth, deceptive deployment on all of us. And this is exactly what I would expect, because what they're doing is far worse than spying. It includes spying. So that's how we started in this journey down a dark pit. And the more research that we did, the more we found where this came from. And I will start going through the PowerPoint that I've put together and explain that. This is intended for you to look at very, very closely. This is an incarceration of our homes. This is imprisonment, enslavement, and this is also depopulation, because there's no safe level of radiation emitted from these meters, and they know it. There's no accident behind people getting sick. I've been to many CPUC meetings, California Public Utility Commission meetings, where people have been in tears. They've brought their doctors. They have doctor's letters. They are sick from radiation. And the CPUC ignores them completely. They continue to deploy the meters. Now, at this moment, I'll mention the opt-out. California is unique because of the ridiculous press that PG&E received just before the holidays, where they turned off power off of some people in Santa Cruz. It went all over the world that people were in the dark with Christmas trees decorated and freezers melting onto the floor because PG&E turned off their power when they purchased a safe analog meter from Jerry Day that is on our website. But you don't need to do that because now we have an opt-out, but it's not without an extortion fee. So I would encourage anyone in this room, when you leave tonight, to consider calling Southern California Edison or San Diego Gas and Electric, whoever services your utilities in your home, and tell them you want this biohazard removed immediately, and you'll see why. I will be showing you documents. Every single thing that I will be telling you tonight is documented either with military documents, government documents, or with utility documents. There is nothing that I am telling you that is not fully documented on the harm and dangers. So should you decide to have your meter removed, you will be charged $75 initial fee to have your meter removed and $10 additional a month. If you can get on the CARE, because they care about you so much, program, they will, and that will depend on your finances, it would be a $10 initial removal fee and $5 additional per month.
Did you know you could actually opt out of the program? You could tell them to come take that meter off your house, and if they're putting notices on your house that they're going to put on a smart meter, you let them know that you're opting out. Just like at the airports, if you guys are flying, you can opt out of going through the x-ray machine. Just tell them you don't want to do it, and then they'll just pull you off to the side and give you a different treatment where you won't be getting blasted with the electromagnetic frequencies.
They are using military weaponized microwave radiation. This technology will reduce the population. This assault is invisible. We don't see it, we don't taste it, and we cannot touch these frequencies. They are silent weapons for a quiet war. This is bloodless, and it causes no wounds. I want to tell you that we really are in a battle. We are in a life or death battle. And you need to engage, and you need to hear the truth. And I'm going to present that to you with the documents tonight. And it's important. When justice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. And that is Thomas Jefferson. I have posted on the website, and I've provided boards around the room where you can actually see John F. Kennedy's speeches. And the reason I'm talking about this is I'm going to read this one to you. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system that has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and military operations. This was part of his speech. We have the entire speech up on stopthecrime.net. And he was assassinated about 2 weeks after he said this speech.
It's labeled the speech that killed JFK, but I would also want to add, going against the Federal Reserve didn't do him any favors either.
In 1961, the Kennedy administration ordered a top-down secret study to determine the problems facing the United States if the world moved from a time of war to a golden age of peace. By 63, the specialists had been selected, and 15 experts from various academic disciplines were chosen from different fields. Their first and last meetings were held in an underground nuclear survival retreat called Iron Mountain. The study was concluded in 1966. Lyndon Johnson gave the order that the report was never to be released because of the content. And a whistleblower released it under the name of John Doe, and it was published in 1967. The establishment promptly said it was a hoax. It is no hoax. It's now hard to obtain, but can be found, and we have it on our site. The report looks deep into the soul of the New World Order. Iron Mountain is a covert agenda to bring the world and America under control of the United Nations. The conclusions reached are now being implemented upon the American people without their knowledge or consent. As this documentary will prove beyond all doubt, what you are about to see and hear is real. It is very disturbing, but it is real. It is dangerous beyond belief, but it is real. It is frightening, and yet it is real. No person in America is safe because in spite of all of the denials of the authorities, it is real and these plans are coming to pass. The report will show how the rich men of the earth are operating and why. You will now understand why America is changing into a fascist police state. You will understand why the federal law enforcement is soon being merged with the police. There is no regard for ethics, morality, or human life.
The Iron Mountain Report. Leave a comment down below if you've ever heard of the Iron Mountain Report. I found that very interesting. Let's continue.
This is a government document. This is one of the reasons that JFK was assassinated. He was trying to expose what the secret societies were doing and what this agenda was. And we were warned years ago. And back in 1967, when the whistleblower released this report, it was too outrageous. People could easily not believe it. But we're at a point right now where we can see it. We know where that date in the 60s and now, we can see it, and it shows us how global warming was invented, and it talks about all of what we see as being so horrible. The next source document that we have on our website is the NWO Plans Exposed 1969. And how many of you have ever read this document? Have any of you seen this document?
I bet the answer to her question that she just asked you was no. Well, I never knew that document existed. There might be some of you guys who knew, but I bet you the huge majority of people had no idea.
They'll monitor us. They told us again, this is the 1969 New World Order exposed. Everything that they said then, they are now doing. They also said that they would have voice-to-skull communication, that there would be the ability to direct frequencies and target individuals for voice-to-skull talking in your head. Now, I will tell you, initially when I started in smart meters, I had no idea that there were actually frequencies intended to control us and manipulate us and to take over our brains.
And she's right. When she started talking about this back in the day, no one could believe it. But now, if you're looking around, objectively, you can obviously see with your own eyes that we're going all in.
PG&E also partnered with ICLEI, with the United Nations. That has been under the radar. You can go on to ICLEI.org, or Southern California Edison partnered with ICLEI. They have signed on with the United Nations. They have subverted our state constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our Constitution. Also, just as an FYI, PG&E has a major shareholder called Rothschild. Smart meters, as I said earlier, it is not UL certified, meaning that the underwriter laboratory confirms smart meters have not been safety tested. This has brought rise to fire concerns. We know that many homes have burned down all over the country. In fact, many homes have burned down in Australia, in the UK, and also Canada. This is becoming a frequent reality of the smart meters. This is a picture of multimeters on the end of an apartment house. As you can see, that person locked their meters up with locking rings. Edison has been cutting these locking rings off prior to the opt-out. And people also have been building cages and wiring their safe analog meters to their homes to prevent vandalism. But now in California, we do have the opt-out. What you're seeing here is the RF tester. It's on, and you can see it has safe levels. It's not spiking up to max. When we have smart meters, those levels are spiking to maximum, which is 1900 on this RF analyzer.
And one thing Stacy and I recommend is getting yourself a tri-field meter. It's an EMF reader. It has other meter gauges on there as well. And then that way you can see if you do have a smart meter, if it's putting out frequencies that are going to bother you, you can actually buy a cage for your smart meter and put it on there, or other things you can do to mitigate the electronic magnetic frequencies that are harming your body, allegedly.
We're told by a whistleblower about a special smart meter that's deployed on every 500 to 700 homes. You get the special meter, which we've named the Medusa meter, if you are a good paying customer, if your meter is located conveniently to the street, not behind a gate, and not with dogs. This meter collects data from thousands of pulses around your neighborhood as it piggybacks through the grid mesh network. This is a miniature cell phone tower that they're putting on people's homes. We had one woman in Marin that became very, very ill, and we discovered that she was the recipient of a preferred customer mini cell phone tower. Equally as toxic to us is the dirty electricity. Again, this is on our website. Dr. Sam Millam is a whistleblower. He's a scientist. This is an industry cover-up. This is toxic, and the utility companies, the cell phone industry, and public utility commissioners, state and health departments, and the FDA all are in the cover-up. These frequencies are overloading our power lines. They're going into our house wires in our homes. They do not need wires to transmit from the inside of your home into your bodies. Okay? It says the basic frequency on the power lines of electrical power delivered to our homes and other buildings is now increased with an added higher frequency, polluting the electrical voltage and currents, delivering the higher frequency power into the wiring. Dirty electricity does not need a direct wire connection. It connects through the air, traveling into the human body from the wiring carrying the power. So it's very important to eliminate wire box spring mattresses. Women, do not wear underwire bras. Men, be sure that your stays in your collars are plastic and not metal. What is being targeted is the metal. This is near your glands, and this will cause all kinds of glandular malfunctions.
And infertility, depopulation, voice to skull. All you guys got to do is spend 2 seconds just looking this stuff up, and you can clearly see that it's happening at alarming rates. All of those things.
The weaponization that the Fort Meade military document speaks to, this talks about the weaponization of frequencies and how they are being used and are the underpinnings of the smart grid. We know that these weaponized military technologies were first used heavily by the military for spying and battlefield applications. The CIA became very interested in microwaves many decades ago. How could they influence someone's mental state? And how can they harm without wounds or without bleeding? The level of research and knowledge is profound, but not shared with us, the public. So the rollout of smart meters, like the rollout of cell phone towers and cell phones, is a covert action by the CIA. And for what purpose? Infertility, depopulation, mind control, and big pharma reaps more profits when people have more problems. Anything from difficulties in sleeping, depression, diabetes, cancer, and heart attacks. These people that are doing this are not dumb. They're not stupid. They're just very, very evil. That's what we're battling. This is a fight now between good and evil. Radio waves are ideal for remote human cell manipulation, and this was in the New York Times. New York Rockefeller University says this is a breakthrough. They talk about the ability to modify the behavior of genes without ever going into a patient's body. This is potentially colossal. Well, we know that. Microwaving has been done all over the world. I can tell you that cell phone towers have been concealed in different areas in Iraq. They're called poppers. They're little domes. They're about this big. And they were placed in hidden areas in different villages and towns in Iraq. And once activated, they would transmit about a half-a-mile radius, and they would pass through anything, through metal, concrete, or skulls, up to a half a mile. And the Iraqi people were unaware of this deadly, silent, and invisible war that we waged upon them. These frequencies cause targeted people to lose all incentive for further resistance and revenge. Frequencies create mood swings and change our ability to resist. So I have a countdown to the decline in America. I have it on a board. You can download this off our site, stopthecrime.net. It is a chronology of how things occurred. But we are told in 2011 that the president announced that 98% wireless coverage in the United States, and at least 9 million unknowingly electromagnetically sensitive Americans will be affected immediately. Now they refer to this as electromagnetic sensitivity. It is really radiation sickness. It's radiation sickness. It's not a sensitivity. Everyone is going to be affected by the radiation. On our website, we have a list of the various ailments that are as a result of the frequencies. These ailments are also listed in the Army documents. There are over 10,000 scientific documents in from all over the world. In fact, the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, Sweden sent an urgent message to the California CPUC asking them to immediately stop the continuation of deploying the smart meters in California because of the results and the evidence that they have found. So what I want to say at this point, for any of you that have amalgam fillings, silver amalgam fillings, have them removed by a dentist that has the correct equipment to remove these fillings. Because what's happening with these frequencies, it's creating a battery effect. And the mercury vapors are released, and it's causing unbelievable illnesses. And again, we get back to the light bulbs. I'll just throw that in right now. We've recently been mandated to have CFL light bulbs that are all mercury-based. On the EPA website, it says disposal of these light bulbs must be at a hazmat waste site. You know, they're not going to go to a hazmat waste site. People are going to throw them in their trash. They're going to end up at the landfills. They're going to leach this toxic mercury into our soil and into our water supply. Our trash haulers are going to get sick. We're going to get sick. Why? You have to ask, why are all these toxins being added at every level of our consumer? Our consumption, we have poisonous toxic choices at every single level.
and the whole light bulb thing, man, that really makes you think, doesn't it? Why they would get rid of, you know that the Thomas Edison light bulb is still actually lighting up, and there are light bulbs out here that are over 100 years old, still operating and properly functioning with the proper light rainbow in them. They're putting us on these LED lights because it's not the proper light rainbow, okay? It's messing up our spectrum. And did you hear what she said? You have to dispose of them as a hazardous material. So please help me make that make sense. Also, have you used a gas can lately? Holy smokes, man. We let them mess up the gas cans, and now this lighting situation is far worse than you could even possibly imagine, okay? I know this video was a little bit long. I just want you guys to hear this stuff with your own ears and then go look it up. Just spend a little time looking this stuff up. Isn't it worth it? And then isn't it worth it to try to sound the alarm to your fellow friends and neighbors? And if we all can get together on this as a collective, as a people, right? We can actually probably put an end to it, okay? Share this video with your friends. Probably the last thing I'm going to do about these smart meters and the agenda, but I just want you guys to know that they are funneling us somewhere, and you're not going to like it when we get there, okay? Share this video with your friends. Make sure you're subscribed. They are unsubscribing people. And also, check out some of this chocolate tea.
Did you guys know that in the 16, 17, and 1800s, chocolate was consumed as a beverage? There was no such thing as a chocolate candy bar. Well, we're bringing chocolate tea back to the 21st century because it's loaded with antioxidants our body loves, and it's a great source of magnesium that's wonderful for bone and heart health. It's a great addition to your coffee machine or your French press, or just along with your favorite sweetener. You can find it on offgridwithdougandstacy.com, along with our brand new tea infuser, simple to use for easy steeping. Cheers!